Hey everybody, Ken McElroy here, and I've got my buddy Scott Harkey. He has a company called Owens Harkey, and I'm just going to brag on him a minute. One of the fastest growing companies in the nation, certainly number one in Arizona for advertising. Scott, thanks for being on.
Hey, good to be here.
So, I thought it was great. First of all, thank you for coming. I wanted to chat a little bit about these podcasts are for entrepreneurs and either beginning or they're thinking about it or maybe they're already doing it. And can we talk a little bit about some of the lessons and some of the mistakes I think people are making right now? Sure. Because, you get into their websites and their SEO and their social media and people are all over the map.
Sure. Well, first off, there's no better time to be an entrepreneur in this country. Procter & Gamble, one of the largest companies in the world in terms of products. I mean, you go into a store today and you can't miss a product that Procter & Gamble owns at some level, whether it's Tide or a toothpaste that you buy every day. Just a mammoth company with resources that you can't even imagine. Last year, only 52% of Procter & Gamble's companies grew. There is no better time to start a brand, to start a company, because for the first time, I think, ever in history, at least in America, the playing field's somewhat level. Distribution models are changing in television, where we have YouTube TV, we have Amazon, we have Netflix, you have social media today. And so the big brands are confused and they have less of an advantage they had than ever. I mean, the store business has changed with Amazon. If you have a great product, a great idea, a great brand, you can get to consumers direct now. And so the game has changed. So first of all, it's a great time to be an entrepreneur.
Well, we'll look at Sears, you look at Kmart, gone, right?
Gone.
These are Macy's. These are incredible, huge brands.
Correct.
Huge number of money and employees gone.
Yeah. So for us, we run an advertising agency and we go up against some of the biggest advertising agencies in the world. I mean, there's 4 major holding companies in the U.S. and globally that pretty much own most market share for ad agencies. I mean, companies that have 300,000 employees, 50,000 employees. So us as an ad agency at 150 employees, what we found is we can be faster to market with ideas, and we can beat the bigger agencies by being better at what we do and being mainly just not so much smart but fast, by be willing to admit you're making a mistake and correcting. And I think entrepreneurs today, and I love entrepreneurship, I love entrepreneurs today, I think they make a mistake because they do go fast because that's their nature. It's about how fast you can make mistakes and correct. But I think entrepreneurs, and I've made the mistake in this, and when I've helped brands and my own brand, is by really truly understanding the core essence of your brand, understanding who you are as a company, because companies are people, and we know this as we've gone through personal development, that we've had to kind of peel our own onion back to find out how we tick and how to get the best out of ourselves. And you need to approach your company the same way in terms of peeling the onion back and understanding at the core who your company is and what your advantage is on your customers. But most entrepreneurs go straight to execution. What am I going to do on social? What's my SEO going to look like? And they forget to take a step back and, just like a psychologist, really dive into your company as a human being.
That's a really, really, really good point. So what would you say, because what happens normally is people say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to sell this. I'm going to put together a website and I'm going to jump on SEO. I'm going to put a Facebook page, and then they just kind of wait.
Correct.
for sales, or for people to come in the door or whatever. What are some basic things that those folks can do at the very core level?
Sure. The first thing I think I tell people all the time, and it seems intuitive, but it's not, is people buy things emotionally. Always, always, always. You buy things emotionally. And there's emotional triggers that you need to unlock with your brand advocates. And I don't call them consumers, I call them brand advocates, because you're trying to get people to buy in to your movement. And you need to figure out what emotional triggers you can unlock and what emotionally you stand for. And a lot of times people always want to go to logic because it's easy. We're all smart. And so we want to say logically why we're the best company or why we have the best product or why we're doing the best work. And it's all logic based. And what you need to do is get into emotionally based things, and then you can justify it with logic. And if you can do that, if you can figure out those emotional triggers, the way Tom's has done, the way Allbirds has done, the way some great companies have rolled out today in this marketplace, because in today's marketplace, you have to give a crap about something, and you have to be doing something. And it's more than a great product. It's more than making money. It's this emotional piece that people can relate to, and then they want to be with you, right? No one wants to be with somebody as a person to person because logically they have a great job or they look a certain way. It's all this emotional feeling. And if you can do that, and there's certainly branding exercises, very simple ones you can do as an entrepreneur to unlock that. And then the tactics start to just come together very easily.
You know, it's interesting because you make people laugh, you make people cry. I noticed like even during the Super Bowl, that first responder piece, I thought that was incredibly well done.
Yes.
Right.
If you look at national brands today, they're figuring this out now. They've figured out the model, and this model has existed for a long time, but more so today in an economy. There's the average American consumer today sees 5,000 ads and promotional messages a day. So how do you cut through? I mean, great, you have a social media plan. Great, you have influencers. Okay, cool. But people are bombarded with ads, and they're very rarely inspired. So in today's crowded marketplace, if you don't stand for something that is so emotionally compelling to make somebody stop and cut through those 5,000 ads, then you're just wasted. The old adage in marketing was the frequency of 3. You ever heard, like, in school you had to learn something 3 times till you remember it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have ADD, so for us it was like 100. Well, in today's marketplace, Google came out with a study, and they said the average American consumer needs to see or hear something compelling almost 15.7 times. So a lot of times people are like, oh, I put up this billboard, it didn't work. Or, oh, I did this TV ad, no one bought my stuff. Well, and it's like, well, your message wasn't authentic to who you are, number one. Number two, it wasn't emotionally compelling. It was all these factual reasons and logical reasons to buy your stuff. And number three, you only reach the person one time. You need to reach the person 15 times. It's just like networking. You need to be networking with people that you want to do business with for years and years and years to build that relationship, to build that credibility. Advertising and personal brands, it's the same thing. You need a lot of frequency, and you need to be emotionally compelling, and you need to be authentic to actually who you are and who your company is.
So I know that you represent the Arizona Lottery, Pepsi, the Fiesta Bowl, Arizona State, Sheridan, AT&T, and that's just a small number of companies. So how do you get these big institutions, because I agree with you. How do you get these big institutions to buy into that? Guys, these are long-standing old companies.
Yeah. So we have a process, and a lot of agencies use this process, but what we try to do is pretty simple. So right now we're working with Virgin on their hotel corporate brand, and Virgin's an amazing brand. We're talking about Richard Branson. I mean, the king of branding. But what we do is we bring in everybody who's going to be working on, for example, the Virgin brand into a room, and we try to get people aligned on what this specific hotel product stands for, what it means. And you need to get internal people in your organization aligned with what that is, and that it's authentic and it's true. And we almost facilitate a fight with major brands because there's a lot of corporate stuff, whether it's Virgin or Wynn or Gila River Hotels and Casinos. Everybody has their own idea in a company on what the brand means. And what you really need to do is get people aligned and rowing in the same direction. Like, you know what? This is who we are, and it's specific, and it's emotional, and it's true. And if you can get all these people aligned internally first, then you can develop a strategy to go external and market it to other people. And that's what we do mainly with large companies. And then we get to do the fun execution, which is the great ads. But you can't do great creative during the Super Bowl until you have organizational alignment that's true and authentic. And people do it wrong all the time, right? Like Gillette just launched a new ad. In my opinion, it wasn't authentic to Gillette. They were reaching on a Me Too movement that was a great effort, but it wasn't true to who Gillette was. Nike, on the other hand, their ad was compelling, it was emotional, it was controversial with Kaepernick, but it was true to Nike. That's who Nike is. That's who Nike always has been. And so you can do great creative, you can do great work that is controversial if it's true to who the brand is. If it's not true, if it's bullshit, you're going to get called out on the carpet and you're going to look dumb.
Right. So not everybody plays in that space, as you know.
Sure.
I love hearing these stories that you've done, and I agree. Well, but how does a one-man band or somebody that's got 2 or 3 people that's trying to survive, that's maybe doing $500 or $1 million a year, and they're just they're basically a high-paid employee in their own company. How do they go and grow?
That's a great question. So I started 11 years ago. My business partner and I started in his condo in Scottsdale, and we would have to make excuses to meet people for coffee because we didn't want anyone to see that we were like in this, small condo in Scottsdale with 2 cats. So they couldn't come to our office. So I've been there and I understand that. And for us, as an entrepreneur, you can't replace anything with passion, right? People love the underdog passion story, and you can own that. You can't own being a power brand like Goldman Sachs, but as an entrepreneur, you can own a lot different things in Goldman Sachs. But what a lot of people do is at least for me, I get insecure at times, and I want to be the big brand, and I want to be the big company, and I want to be able to provide those services, but I'm not that, right? And so what's true to my brand as a 2-person shop, a 5-person shop, a 10-person company that you can own, right? Like Tuft & Needle, when they started, they could own value, they could own speed, and they had this irreverent tone about, screw the mattress companies. They're ripping you off. We have just as good a product. We can ship it to your door. It's innovative, and it's totally different than the mattress companies. They're the anti-mattress company. Right. They could own that as a 3-person company.
Which goes back to the original thing you said, is that's why it's the greatest time to be an entrepreneur, because here's this group that came from nowhere and disrupted the whole industry.
100%.
Right?
Look at Airbnb. I'm amazed at the Airbnb story. I mean, Brian Chesky, at how he built Airbnb. I mean, he had the dumbest idea ever. He's going to have people sleep in mattresses in different rooms in San Francisco, and people are going to rent those out for money. That's like a creepy story. And they made this amazing business model because what they found was their mission was to have people belong anywhere in the world. It was belong anywhere. And they unlocked something in people that was like this greater good message. And now, I mean, they were a fast, obviously unicorn company, but other entrepreneurs can do that. They can own passion, they can own value, they can own speed. So what are those attributes to your company? And it's just like when someone comes and does mission, vision, values of your company, what are you going to stand for? And then you can go deliver it from executional. But if you go executional too fast, it's going to be wrong, and it's not going to be true to who you are, and you're going to be reaching on stuff that doesn't matter, that's not unique to who you are. It's not a superiority claim in terms of your brand. And that's, that's the hardest thing as entrepreneurs, because we all want, right? We all want to be like the puff our chest, like big time person. Like
I've made that mistake.
Right?
Oh my God.
Me too.
It's costing me tons of money.
Me too. At one time in my agency's history, we lost 67 pitches. I lost almost every pitch we went up against. We went up against some huge ad agencies. And what I would do was some of the big government accounts we pitched, which I had no business pitching, probably shouldn't have pitched those, wasted a lot of money. But I would go look at everybody's proposals. And I would see our proposal compared to everybody else's proposal, because it was a government contract, so we got to go look at it. And I would find out what they were pitching and what we were pitching. I find out why we lost, and I find out, boy, they have way more resources. Their creative's amazing. But I found little nuggets to where I could beat them. And I think as an entrepreneur, if you can really study your competition, I know a lot of people are like, oh, focus on yourself. No, you need to study who is in your marketplace and what they're good at, and find out how you can beat them and what you're good at. It's the David and Goliath story that, David could beat Goliath with a little rock. You can do the same thing as an entrepreneur if you're smart about it and you see where you can win and what's true to who you are, what you're passionate about winning in.
We're seeing it every day.
I love it. It's awesome.
I flipping love it. I love all these stories. All these guys are popping up out of nowhere.
100%.
And they're gobbling up huge market share from Goliaths that are out there.
Look at Instagram right now. Instagram's killing it, of course. They're doing a great job. YouTube's doing a great job. But anybody can become a content producer. And it's not advertising. You do not put ads to people. You put content to people. You're an entertainment company. Your job is to entertain and provide value when people see the ads, because no one likes seeing advertising. It sucks. But if you're providing a positive message, if you're providing entertainment, laughter, if you're providing something, there's payoff to watching your bullshit ads, then people might actually listen. And if they listen, that's the first step. That's step one. The next step is them to actually be like, you know what? I'm aligning myself with those. Those guys are like me. That company I can relate to. I'm in. I'm going to like them, or I'm going to click on this Instagram and go to their site and check them out. And that's why you're seeing more products than ever literally launch from nothing on Instagram directly to the people that are aligned with those same purpose, mission, vision, and values right there. And so you're literally seeing companies that have no distribution model, have no company producing great products with great content in a format that people are aware of. Instagram is now the new television. Television's going to go bye-bye. 15% of the Arizona designated market area literally unplugged their television last year and has no TV. I mean, we're seeing monumental shifts in the way people consume content and monumental shifts in how people buy things. So if you can study your landscape and understand where you fit in that model and how you can connect to a small group of people that will go to war for you in terms of what you're doing and what your mission is as a company, what's your brand mantra. After you do this work, we like to think we create a thing called manifestos. So your manifesto is what your brand stands for at a deep level that will inspire people. Like it's your war cry. Like, hey, you going to align with us? Like, here's what we're doing. We want to change the mattress industry. We want to change the hotel industry. We want to change the finance industry. And you can win in that world because people will get inspired by that. They can relate to that story because we're all underdogs at some level. And you're seeing companies do it time after time. I love it. I see a new Instagram ad all the time that's based on things that I click on, things that I like, and it'll speak to me in a way, whether it's motorized skateboards, like motorized surfboards, or like crazy stuff that, of course, I'm interested in. And then the way they tell the story to me in the format that I'm comfortable in gets me excited about entrepreneurs producing these products. I don't want to go to Walmart and buy a brand. I want to be inspired by someone that's creating something that I didn't even know I wanted yet.
Awesome, Scott. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up. But before we do, what's one piece of advice that you would give any entrepreneur?
I think my biggest piece of advice would be to keep leading with passion and be willing to be vulnerable in anything that you're doing. I think people respect vulnerability more so than anybody's talking about, even on the commercial brand side. If you come out and say, hey, I'm trying to do this and I don't have it figured out, like people will come to, like, they'll align with you. Be like, you know what? I don't have it figured out either. But the fact that you had the guts to come out and say that, I love you. And brands and love is what it's all about. I mean, that if you can unlock love at some level, that's such a powerful tool. You've seen other people unlock anger and hate in politics. That's a very powerful tool as well. Probably not a lot of longevity for a brand there. So how do you unlock love at some level? And people will line up for you, and you'll sell a lot of product. But the financial analyst, the consultants, your mentors will have all these rational business cases. And I say ignore those and go with how you unlock love. Go with what you're so passionate about, because other people will respect that. And it's a multiplication effect. Building a brand's multiplication. If you want to go and get consumers by addition on pay-per-click and you're working your mathematic formulas, that's fine. You can do well with that, but unlocking true brand potential is by doing the deep, hard therapy work of your company to unlock love for people to line up. And that's a multiplication effect. Brands are multiplication. Brands are everything. It's not sales.
Be authentic.
Yeah. Be authentic, be vulnerable as a company, not just as an individual, as a company. And you'll be so surprised at what people will they'll flock to that. And big companies are understanding this now. I mean, when I go to the big national conferences, the biggest brands in the world, they're figuring out how to unlock this, but it's way harder for them to do it. And they're going to have it happen in a lot slower time frame. And it's hard for a big company to do this and truly be authentic about it, because if they're publicly traded, they're not about love. Okay. They're about shareholder value.
Well, they're in a boardroom and they're pushing it down.
Yeah.
Right?
So
it's a lot different.
Yeah. So when a big company rolls this out, it won't be as authentic as an entrepreneur rolling it out.
Right, for sure. Oh, thanks, buddy.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
It was awesome.
You bet.